Hey guys, I'm Top Sage. This is Tabletop Never Stop, and today we are taking a look at everything in the Night Watch Heroes box from Song of Ice and Fire Manager's tabletop game. And let's jump right in. So, first off, we got Pip. He's a 2-point attachment and has Nimble. When making range attacks, this unit may shift 3 inches instead of the normal 2. After that attack has been completed, this unit may then shift an additional 3 inches. So right now, the only thing that Pip could actually even go in is the Ranger trackers, which anytime I see units with short range attacks, I'm always kind of like, with short range attacks, I'm always sort of like, what's the point of this? Wouldn't they be better off charging? And the Rangers are the trackers are a special case, I guess, because I mean their ability to bounce around with their free retreat makes them a little bit different. But so I think Pip is really probably here for the crossbowmen, builder crossbowmen. We know they're coming. We've seen the box, so we don't have any idea what the stats look like. And I would imagine those guys have a range of 12. And all of a sudden, you know, at a range of 12, this additional shift is pretty interesting. The extra inch is cool. The real crazy part is stepping back through more inches. What that really means is, you know, you can fire and then be 15 to 14 inches away from your enemy. There's not a whole lot they can do to come at you. They can spend another turn coming towards you, but you know, a charge isn't going to get them in there. And of course, there are ways to move up, more rapidly. But the other thing you can do is if someone did come towards you, you could shift 3 inches back, fire, and then shift another 3 inches, and eventually run out of board. But it does mean that you can get quite a bit of distance. The free folk have gotten a nimble attachment also, so this more mobile range units coming to the game could be interesting. And of course, you don't have to go backwards and forwards. You could also shift left or right, which will help you get targets. Might help you duck behind another one of your allies, keep your range unit safe. It's certainly a little more maneuverability for our range units. So it's definitely a good change to the game. We'll see if any of the other factions ever get access to Nimble. So moving on, we have Grenn, a 2-point attachment, powerful blows. This unit's melee attacks roll +1 die and gain critical blow. Rolls a 6, cause 2 hits. So this is interesting, just in the sense that the backbone of the Night's Watch is, of course, the Sworn Swords, who already have critical blow, and so that means Grenn needs to go in something else. And the 1 extra dice is nice, but critical blow for 2 points. I think the reason why he costs so much is because we already have all these elite units, and an easy way to turn them into monsters. But it is kind of interesting, so I'm not really sure where I want to put Grenn. I mean, sure, he can go in veterans, and now the veterans are like even more dangerous, but 1 more dice doesn't make that much of a difference, and I don't really need a 10-point infantry unit. Kind of same way I feel more or less the same about the trackers. I mean, again, that will make them definitely more dangerous, but yeah, I don't really love them in either of those spots. Of course, we can put them in our Night Watch conscripts, and additional dice and critical blow. It kind of almost turns them into Sworn Swords. Not as good, of course, and they'll cost the same, although they do have the healing ability, and the healing ability is, it's not nothing. So I mean, maybe that's what you do with Grenn. But I'm not loving him, to be honest. All right, and this is Qhorin Half, 3-cost attachment. We'll talk about the NCU in a minute. He has Order, Stubborn Tenacity. When this unit passes a panic test, 1 enemy engaged with this unit suffers D3 wounds. There's lots of Night's Watch units that have pretty high morale, so some natural synergy there. You can only do it once per turn, but I think they're going to pass most of their panic tests, so that's a fair amount of wounds they might be handing out. And then he also has Go Down Fighting. Each time a rank in this unit is destroyed, 1 enemy engaged with it suffers 1 wound, and if you control combat, deal D3 wounds instead. So 3 points, expensive attachment. That being said, I do like Qhorin here. slapping him into one of the more expensive Night Watch units is kind of creating this Death Star unit. But I do think both these abilities serve the Night's Watch quite well. Most of their units are pretty hard to kill, so when they do destroy ranks, dealing those wounds will be nice. And the reality is, like, a lot of times you're able to bring your Night's Watch back up to full health with things like Jon Snow and Maester Aemon. So you could find yourself being able to trigger go down fighting 3 or 4 times in a game, which if that does happen, it's, I think it's worth this 3 point cost tag. And this is Qhorin Half and the NCU for cost. We have seen the card, but we weren't sure about the cost, so now we know he's 4. And I've already talked about him in a different video, but we'll talk about him again. So he's basically a vanilla NCU with no ability until you decide to turn his ability on, in which case he makes it so that one enemy unit cannot activate, and then he's removed from the game. So in the ideal situation, you use Qhorin as normal for 5 rounds, and then at the start of the 6th round, you use him to turn off one enemy unit, which, at the end of a game, when there's not a whole lot of units left around, could be pretty devastating. I think it's probably worth it. Now, you might end up using him earlier, right? There are certainly times where, maybe the enemy is going to kill your commander this round, and if you can just turn that unit off and, keep the commander alive, then, that could totally be worth it. Of course, then you'd be playing down in NCU, which could be, not so great. I think, Qhorin's definitely worth taking a look at. Certainly interested in trying him out. All right, so there are 3 commanders in the box. We're going to go through them. This is Allister Thorne. This is actually his not commander attachment. So we'll do that first. I'll move on to his commander card. 2-cost attachment order at any cost. If this unit would fail a panic test, you kill one model in this unit to automatically pass this panic test. So we shall be familiar with this. We've seen it in the Lannister Guard Captain. Interesting to see it here in the Night's Watch. All our Night's Watch in the starter set have very good morale. Of course, the conscripts don't, so that's perhaps interesting, right? We could put Allister Thorne in our conscripts, protect them from bad panic tests. And he also has Insight. When this unit makes a melee attack, this attack rolls its highest attack value and gains Vicious. This unit suffers D3 wounds after this attack has been completed. So we have a self-damaging ability. We've seen this in lots of other factions. It's interesting to see it here in the Night's Watch. A lot of our units here are a lot more valuable, and that's not anything we necessarily want to do. But I think the answer is fairly obvious. Although you could put Allister in other units, the most logical place for him seems to be in a group of conscripts, which makes total sense since he was the trainer of the recruits. And so you got some synergy with them. He can protect them from bad morale tests. And since the conscripts have built-in healing, in theory, the damage you take from using Insight won't actually end up hurting you. And in fact, if you have the wealth symbol claimed on the tactics board, you might even net health even after using Insight. I think that's the place for him. I don't think you necessarily want him in any of your other units because they're probably too valuable to really be adding wounds onto, in my opinion. And of course, a lot of the other units have fairly high morale tests, so they won't get they'll get less out of at any cost. Although, any unit could roll Snake Eyes and lose some men, and having at any cost there would then be worth it. Yeah, to me, makes a lot of sense in the conscripts. All right, so now we are looking at the commander version of Allister Thorne, Master at Arms. He has the same at any cost order that we just talked about, and he also has Prey on the Weak. If the defender has a destroyed rank, this unit's attack gain +1 to hit, and if they have 2 destroyed ranks, they also roll an additional 2 attack dice. So now all of a sudden, Allister is more of a finisher unit. Again, you could put him in the conscripts here, and at any cost to still be useful. I actually think I kind of like him as a commander. I think I like him in the Ranger Hunters, since they can kind of use their free retreats to bounce around the battlefield and get themselves into units that they can use the Prey on Weak ability on. And since Prey on the Weak works as attack or a ranged attack, as a melee or a ranged attack, they can make use of it. All right, so let's look at Allister's tactics cards. So first off, he has Ruthless Approach. At start of friendly turn, attach this card to an enemy combat unit till the end of the round. While attached, the enemy suffers the following effects based on what tactic zones you control. If you have the crown, they get -2 on panic tests. If you have the wealth, they get -1 on defense rolls. If you have tactics, they lose all abilities. If you have combat, they have -2 attack dice. And if you control maneuver, they lose 2 speed. And this is, it's interesting because, of course, it's versatile. It's actually basically the opposite of a vow, right? Like a bad vow you can give people. I think, right off the bat, having tactics and being able to pretty much remove abilities from an enemy for the entire round is crazy good. And of course, requires a little bit of setup. You have to claim the spot and then wait till your next turn and then play the card. That's pretty good. Might not be that useful for stopping an assault, but it definitely means you can turn off defensive units' abilities. If your enemy has lots of giants, you can essentially turn one off for the round. Other abilities are all more gravy, in my opinion. Like, if you need to kill the commander, giving them -1 on defense saves is cool. You can slow down a really powerful unit, but I'd rather take all their abilities away, probably. Panic test is, again, it can help you kill an enemy, but I think the strongest here is definitely taking the abilities away. All right, seeing their flaws. After an enemy combat unit completes an action, that enemy becomes panicked and vulnerable. If that enemy is within short range of Allister Thorne, you may place this card on top of your tactics deck instead of discarding it. All right, so I think this tactics card is freaking great. Nightwatch don't have a whole lot of access to handing out tokens. Being able to get 2 of them is pretty cool. The thing is that this is an incredibly easy trigger to use. Used properly, you can get basically every enemy. You can be passing out these tokens all over the place. So anytime any combat unit activates, you can place a panicked and vulnerable on it. And if they're nearby Allister Thorne, you can put it right back on top of your tactics deck, which is great because it's super easy to use. This is the kind of card you might play 6 or 7 times in over the course of a game, potentially. And although it's not, it's certainly stronger cards out there, the thing is that this card has a really easy trigger. So it's, any combat units are going to activate. So I think this one's pretty cool. And Pathetic Attempt. Pathetic Attempt. After a friendly combat unit is attacked, if it did not lose a rank, the attacker suffers D3 wounds plus 1 additional wound for each remaining rank in the defending unit beyond the first. If the defending unit contains Allister Thorne, you automatically count as having rolled a 3. So the trigger is you get attacked and you don't lose a rank. So sometimes that might not be that great. It might not always happen, but there'll also be plenty of times that it will. Just really depends on who your, what kind of list you're coming up against. Like if Lancer Guards were attacking you, this would be an awesome card. So again, it kind of depends a little bit on what your actual opposition looks like, how great this will go, how much mileage you'll get out of this. One thing I would say is this is a good card in game where maybe you have lots of really wounded units, and so does the enemy. Enemies roll a lot less dice when they're down to their last rank. And if they can't kill you with their last couple hits, then you play this, and maybe you kill them off. So that's pretty cool. And so it's not really a powerhouse card, but it's cool in the end game. I like stuff that works good in the end game. By comparison, I actually hate how a lot of free flow cards require you to have lots of enemy units around, and so in the end game, when you only have 2 or 3 units left, they're worthless. So that's a good opposite of that. Allister Thorne, I don't think he's anybody's favorite character, but pretty interesting as a commander. So let's move on to Donnel Noye. This is a Donnel Noye NCU, the one-armed blacksmith. The card's name is Expert Blacksmith. His power is Bolster Defense. When he claims the wealth spot on the tactics board, you can replace the zone's effect with 1 friendly combat unit gains +1 to defense save rolls until the end of the round. So Donnel Noye's got a bit of a defense theme going. And sure, if you think a unit's going to get attacked multiple times, then this +1 defense is pretty good. Nightwatch have fairly defensive units. In some ways, I think you might almost be better off getting the health. But if you're getting attacked multiple times, I think this +1 defense is going to be the way to go. So this is, and anytime you're trying to hold an objective, if you run a unit out a little bit far ahead at the end of a third round, this could be a good opener. Let's say you at the end of the round you claim an objective with a unit and it's a little bit exposed. At the start of the next round, slapping down a +1 defense on him on that unit could be super good. So he's situational. I don't know if I love this guy, but I do see, how he could work quite well within the defensive structure that the Night's Watch are already using. And also the thing is that the enemy may want to stop you from grabbing the wealth spot, but they already want to stop you from claiming the wealth spot. That's already a big problem, considering the attackers card lets you get free blocks, and just the fact that elite units like to be healed. So there's not really any real risk in the sense that you're going to not be able to get it because you already had that problem. And let's look at Donnel Noye as a commander. His attachment, Defender of Castle Black. So this one is also revolves around the wealth symbol. Well, you control the wealth symbol, this unit's attack gains +1 to hit, and its defensive rolls of 6 block 2 hits. So this one's this attachment, gives you some defense and some offense while you control the wealth spot. As we just talked about, you're probably gonna want to grab the wealth spot. There's the card that gives you free blocks. You have elite units that want healing. Enemy's gonna probably try to stop you, but they were already gonna try to stop you. I like this attachment. It goes good with really any. Night's Watch units are elite. This makes them more elite. It doesn't matter if you're talking about hunters or veterans or sworn swords. Everyone would benefit from having Donnel Noye bolstering their defense. So cool attachment. Let's look at his tactics cards, and we're going to continue that super defensive theme. Our first one is Bulwark Formation. Attach this card to a friendly combat unit until the start of its next activation. While attached, this unit may not make attack actions, but gains +1 to defense save rolls, and attackers do not gain charge, flank, or rear bonuses against this unit. Alright, so at the start of the round, you attach the card to a unit until its next activation, and then while it's attached, you may not make attack actions, but it's only until the next activation, so once it activates, it can. So there must be, I'm sure, so off the top of my head, I'm not really quite sure what the trigger is, but so anything that will allow a free attack wouldn't work. But it doesn't. But anyway, during that time, it's got a bonus to defense saves, and it cannot get hit in the flank, or there's no flanking or rear bonuses, and there's no charge rerolls being turned against it. So kind of like we just discussed with bolster defense, you can totally use Bulwark Formation if you have an exposed unit sitting on an objective, or just about to get kind of just walloped by multiple attackers. You can make them not impervious, but very hard to kill. And if that's like the main target and it looks like they're coming for them, great. Give them extra defense, turn off those flank bonuses. A lot of times once you get to like flanking bonuses, the unit's looking pretty dead. But if you can make the enemy, put two or more units into whatever this unit is and not get them, then that's a pretty good situation. All right, defensive counter. When an unactivated friendly combat unit is attacked with melee, but before the attack dice are rolled, attacker becomes weakened and loses all abilities till the end of the turn. So again, we got another super defensive card. Weakened is good. It's going to reduce the number of hits that are going to come in. Losing all abilities is also really good, especially if we're talking about trying to protect our defensive units. Stuff like giants or Mountain that rides that can like pierce defense really easily. They'll lose those abilities, and then once you add the weakened in, like the odds of them even hitting are pretty bad. Of course, the giant is especially vulnerable to this because now he's just rolling that one dice that does 1 damage, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Bring your giant. So again, another super defensive card. I think done properly, Donnel Noye could be very frustrating. Like if you can get the majority of the objectives with this commander, the enemy's going to have a hell of a time getting you off of them. So I could see this being very frustrating to play against, definitely. And our third tactics card for Donnel Noye is Hold the Line. When a friendly combat unit begins, its activation engaged, that unit's melee attacks gain +1 to hit, and they roll 2 additional dice. Trigger here is going to be pretty easy for you with this defensive commander. If you start engaged, that's going to happen a lot. Getting extra to hit and extra dice while you're engaged is great because you're missing your rerolls from charging. So, that's a good mix of some offense and all that defense. Donnel Noye, I don't know how good he actually is, but it's definitely has a theme, and the theme is defense. And I like Donnel Noye too. Actually, these commanders have been pretty impressive. All right, so we're moving on to Othel Yarwick, first builder. Othel will allow you do some extra stuff with the war machines. So this is his non-commander version. It has the war machine specialist. He has a spotter. When a friendly war machine unit attacks enemy within a long range and line of sight of this unit, the unit may reroll any misses. So rerolls on range attacks are always good since they don't get the rerolls that charges get. We're actually going to skip right past his commander stuff real quick and look at Scorpion modifications, which is an attachment that the Builder Scorpion crew can take, and you can only use it if you have Othel Yarwick. There's 4 in the box, and it allows you to ignore the limited roll for Scorpions. So if you took 4 with the attachments, they would be 9 points each, so you'd have 4 points left over. That's probably not the best list in the world at 40 points, but you certainly could do it. Anyway, the modification gives you 2 things. It gives you the order, ready, aim, fire. When this unit is targeted for a charge from the front, it may make 1 ranged attack action against the enemy before they resolve their charge action. So this is a little protection against cavalry units. As it stood, they could basically, start outside of your 12, move up with the free maneuver, and then charge you. And so there's a whole lot you could do. So this will give you a free attack guaranteed. And of course, it also protects you from other types of infantry. And the card also gives you rapid reload. When this unit is targeted by the maneuver, it may replace the zone's effect with make 1 free ranged attack. It means you can potentially get 2 free ranged attacks out of your Scorpions, provided the enemy doesn't block you on the tactics board. And I haven't really played much actually, I haven't played it all. I don't have a Scorpion, but the game's kind of going like, hey, look at this. There's a Scorpion commander, so I'm kind of rethinking that. I might get one now. Probably won't get 4 though. But this is cool. Good news for people that are really into the model. I've seen a little bit of complaining on the Facebook, but I don't think we're in too much danger of a gun line sitting in the back and just shooting because there's not really a lot of games where that would be very helpful. Most games have objectives you have to go up and claim, and it's hard to win from the back. So I wouldn't be too freaked out about this. I think really we're just looking at some more Scorpions on the field, but it's not. I don't think anything crazy is going to happen where these are going to start dominating the meta. So I'm happy with this. All right, so real quick, going back to the one point attachment version of Othel Yarwick. This is not an order, so he can give multiple war machines this reroll bonus, which if you can pull that off, that's going to be pretty dangerous. Really increase the damage that those Scorpions can do. All right, so let's go on to our commander version of Othel Yarwick. I quite like NCU commanders, although not for Fire and Blood, obviously. His NCU power is when Othel claims a zone on the tactics board, you may replace its effect with search your tactics deck or discard pile for one of Othel's commander tactics cards and add it to your hand, and then shuffle your tactics deck. So because you can get these out of the discard pile, it means you could potentially play these tactics cards, over and over again. Let's take a look at them and see if that's something we'd want to do. All right, so we have Mighty Enhancement. When a friendly unit attacks before attack dice are rolled, this attack gains critical blow and may re-roll any attacks. Precision Enhancement. When this unit attacks before attack dice are rolled, this attack gains Sundering and hits from rolls of 6 do not allow defense saves. And Serrated Enhancement. When this unit attacks before attack dice are rolled, attacks gains Vicious. And if the defender fails their panic test, they also become weakened. A couple interesting things. One being that it's funny because we just said that Yarwyck is the War Machine commander. That being said, the Bolt Thrower actually would not like these first 2, Mighty Enhancement or the Scorpion would have no interest in these first 2 cards, the Mighty Enhancement or Precision Enhancement. It's not really about defense saves. It just needs successes, and then those successes are translated into into hits or wounds, depending. These are all damage multipliers. So mighty enhancement and precision enhancement. The sworn swords, can't really use them, which the sworn brothers. I'm saying the sworn brothers. I think I said sworn swords earlier. My bad. Sworn brothers can't really use them because they already have critical blow and sundering, so they're fairly useless there. But there's plenty of other units that in the Night's Watch, and these are all pretty good damage modifiers. And what's cool about them is if you got enemies with bad defense, then you can play Mighty Enhancement, get lots of extra hits, hopefully with critical blow. If you have enemy with high defense, you can play the Precision Enhancement for the Sundering, and if you have enemies with bad morale, you can play Serrated Enhancement, and hopefully mess their morale up. So that's a tool for every job, and I think you're going to see some fairly significant damage multiplication across the board here. Now, going back to the NCU ability, we can give up a tactic spot to claim the card, and there's some times that we don't want to do this. Like, let's say you need to turn a vow on, but the vow spot isn't really going to do much for you. Then I could definitely see, let's say there's no one really injured to heal, but you really want to turn on your automatic block vow card. Then grabbing wealth and getting a Othel tactics card sounds cool, but I think generally I would rather have most of the normal tactics abilities in one of these cards. That'd be perfectly fair. Like, I'd much rather have a free attack, and often I'd probably like to have a free maneuver too. But at the same time, let's say you're facing something with really stupid high defense, like the Flayed Men, you might be worth grabbing the extra Sundering attack. So I don't love the ability, but I think the cards are pretty cool. And I gotta say, if I was a Night's Watch player, which I am, I just haven't gotten painted yet, but I'd be pretty happy with these commanders, and I think I definitely want to try them all out. I actually kind of like, I think I like Allister Thorne the best, which is kind of surprising, just because I never, certainly don't identify with the character at all. That was my spoiler analysis of the Heroes Box or Night's Watch. Before I go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Once I have this one edited, I'll start right into the free folk, so there's more coming, and I'll see you then. Thanks so much for watching.